In the African jungle, where sunlight filters through the leaves like a golden carpet, a powerful lioness gave birth to a male cub. But this was no ordinary cub. He was the heir to the most feared and respected predator in the jungle. The lioness gently licked her newborn, his tiny body still weak, eyes shut, completely unaware of the dangers of the world. He clung to his mother's belly, surrounded by his siblings. But nature had gifted him something special. He was destined to be the next king of the jungle, but the laws of the wild were cruel. Every cub had to fight to survive. Even for their mother's milk, there was competition, and the weak were left behind, destined for hunger and death. But our little lion was different. He was the most determined and strongest of them all. As the days passed, his teeth sharpened, his claws grew stronger, and step by step, he was preparing to explore the world. But was it going to be that easy? No, because the jungle was full of dangers. A few weeks had passed. The little lion had started testing his claws, playing with his siblings while slowly learning the harsh rules of the jungle. But this play wasn't just for fun. It was training for survival, where strength meant the difference between life and death. One day, while he was nursing from his mother, a large male lion arrived in their territory. He was a challenger to his father. In the jungle, ruling meant power, and the weak were either exiled or killed. The fierce glint in the stranger's eyes made it clear he wanted to take over. The lioness knew that if her mate lost, this new male would kill their cubs. Because new kings never let the old king's offspring live, they eliminate them to prevent any future threats. The fight began. The jungle echoed with deafening roars, claws slashed, fangs tore into flesh, and the scent of blood filled the air. The little lion and his siblings hid in the bushes, watching in fear and astonishment. But nature's verdict was harsh. His father was growing weak. Finally, he fell. The new male was victorious. This was now his kingdom. For the little lion, the alarm bells had rung. His mother quickly gathered her cubs and disappeared into the darkness, knowing that if they were found, their fate would be sealed. His first great challenge had begun. His childhood protection was gone, and the battle for survival had begun. The lioness hid her cubs deep within the jungle, but they were far from safe. The new male was establishing his reign, and if he found them, he would eliminate them in an instant. So the lioness chose a dense part of the jungle, where tall trees, thick bushes, and grass provided natural shelter. But a new problem arose: food. Since the lioness had to stay hidden at all times, hunting became difficult. For days, she and her cubs went hungry. The little lion, who once nursed peacefully, now experienced the painful pangs of an empty stomach. His sisters were also growing weak, and one of them had become so frail that even walking was difficult. Then one day, the lioness ventured out to hunt. She was alone, moving cautiously, for one mistake could mean death. After a long wait, she spotted a small deer. She crouched low, her muscles tensed, eyes locked onto her prey, and she crept forward. The little lion watched his mother intently. This was his first lesson in hunting. With a sudden burst of power, the lioness struck. The deer tried to flee but was taken down in one swift motion. When she returned with the kill, the little lion tasted fresh meat for the first time. But it wasn't just food, it was a lesson. If he wanted to survive, he had to learn to hunt. In the jungle, only hunters thrive. Those who fail to hunt perish. Days passed, and the little lion grew stronger. His mother was teaching him hunting techniques, but he was still not ready to hunt alone. He watched as she moved silently, waited patiently, and pounced at the perfect moment. Then came the day for him to try himself. He was now big enough to attempt to hunt, but was it really going to be that easy? Hiding in the bushes, he fixed his gaze on a young deer. His heart pounded, claws dug into the ground, and he was ready to strike, just like his mother. But as soon as he leaped, the deer bolted away like lightning. The little lion crashed to the ground covered in dust, helplessly watching his prey escape. His first hunt had failed, and here was another lesson. Strength alone wasn't enough. Hunting required intelligence, patience, and perfect timing. Without them, there was no reward, only hunger. He was frustrated, but his mother knew that failure was part of learning. She comforted him and took him hunting again. Because to become a true lion, one must fall many times before standing as a king. After his failure, the little lion was restless. He now understood that to survive, he had to master hunting. His mother trained him for several days, teaching him how to stay silent, how to assess his prey, and most importantly, when to strike. Then came the day when fortune favored him. His mother led him to a spot where a wounded buffalo was trapped in the bushes. This was his chance. The prey was weak but still dangerous. The little lion moved forward, heart pounding, eyes glinting. This was the moment the hunter inside him was awakening. With one final pause, he leapt with all his strength. His sharp teeth sank into the flesh, his claws dug deep. The prey resisted, but eventually collapsed. It was his first successful hunt, the first taste of blood. This was the moment when a mere cub truly began his journey to becoming a lion. Now, he knew how to claim his place in the jungle. But this was just the beginning. Greater dangers lay ahead. Now, the little lion had grown into a powerful young adult. His muscles were defined, his roar echoed through the jungle, and he was an experienced hunter. But one thing remained. He had to claim his own kingdom. After spending years with his mother, it was time for him to leave and forge his own path. In the jungle, only one dominant male ruled, and any grown male had to leave to establish his own reign. That time had come. He learned about a nearby territory ruled by a mighty lion. If he wanted to claim it, he had to defeat him, or be killed trying. This was his ultimate test. He entered the rival's territory, locking eyes with the dominant lion, a massive battle-scarred beast. He had won many fights and wasn't ready to surrender. Then, the battle began. Their roars shook the jungle, claws slashed, fangs tore through flesh, and the scent of blood filled the air. This wasn't just a fight, it was a battle for survival. The loser would either die or be exiled. Hidden animals watched the brutal clash. Both lions had inflicted deep wounds, but then came the moment. The young lion gathered all his strength, knocked his opponent down, and landed a decisive blow. The defeated lion staggered away, conceding defeat. Now, this land belonged to our lion. He was no longer just a hunter. He was a king. The cub who once struggled for his mother's milk had now become the ruler of the jungle. His roar echoed far and wide, and every animal knew that this land now belonged to him. He had become one of the strongest and most feared lions. A new chapter of his life had begun. He had to maintain his rule. He had a pride of lionesses, hunting with him and raising his cubs. The young lion who once learned to hunt was now preparing the next generation of lions. But the jungle's rule remained the same. The strong ruled, and the weak had to step aside. But he knew that one day a young challenger would rise, just as he once had. One day, history would repeat itself. A time would come when he would have to fight to keep his throne. But today he was the undisputed king of the jungle. Today his roar was the loudest. Today he was the most powerful. That is the way of the wild. That is nature's law. Only the strongest reign.